Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omni video. Today we are taking on the final stage of Dimensions and Reprise, so this is stage 15. And this is kind of what you do when you save characters, then you just blow it all out at the end, right? So I was looking at this fight, and it looks like it's kind of like a damage race type of fight. So I'm like, sure, let's just bring in Astos. Like, I actually think this combo could be like the best team in the game, because if there's a fight that doesn't stop Astos, I feel like this is my favorite setup. And I showed this off in another video where Rosa and Rosa and Aerith, they just interact with each other in such a way that we get the gauge up so fast, so quickly, with plenty of turns left and force time for Astos to kind of go crazy. Now, the only thing in this fight that kind of holds Astos back is that these enemies have a bunch of thresholds, right? And what happens is when you hit a threshold, they kind of stop the HP, so like you can't go past that threshold. They do like an action, and then you can go past it. So it stops Astos from one-shotting them, but essentially what we do is where Astos basically will press a button, hit a threshold, it'll do its thing, hits another button, next threshold, does its thing, and then you just have to do it where, like, by the end you have one attack left with full gauge, because the last threshold, they're going to heal back up to, like, 40 or 50% health, but Astos can do so much damage if you're at full gauge, hitting, like, 100 plus million damage, he will just one-shot them from 50%, after that last one. And so in this fight, we actually like timed it just perfect so that went through. So yeah, this was kind of fun to like be able to bring out bad boy Astos to do his thing. This is why I summoned him, right? For like kind of fights where I don't really want to deal with the mechanics so much, because these guys do have some pretty nasty mechanics if you actually let them operate. The big thing is you're kind of doing a damage race. So, like, if you don't beat the damage race, so some of the thresholds will say, lower their HP to the next threshold within this many turns. And if you don't do it, they'll punish you with an attack. Or when they enter force time, they also punish you with an attack. And you can see they don't charge, like, super fast. So it's very easy. You can just beat them to it and then Astos smack them up. But what they do is they put on, like, a 10-turn paralyze on your party, which at that point it's basically game over. Because if you have a 10-turn paralyze, they're just going to keep smacking you and you're going to die. So I think what they want is they're intending you to use something like Raijin or Reno or Vice, so that if you have to deal with that they can't actually hit you with that paralyze through debuff evasion. So I think that's one of the ways that they would want you to, like, say, do it in a traditional way, right? I also think that Setzer's pretty good in this fight if you're trying to do like a more traditional run. I noticed, because I did do like a dry run of this earlier, and I noticed that there were several times when my character started to hit ones. It's because they do a lot of like raising their own stats and lowering your stats and stuff like that. But Setzer can really get through that with the rainbow numbers, the max HP damage, things like that. So he could also work. But this was definitely, I think this was the hardest Reprise fight. I felt like this one was pretty tough. Astos doesn't make it look tough, and that's kind of his job, is just to kind of like trivialize fights, right? So once again, like, this fight doesn't really stop Astos. It does slow him down a bit, but it doesn't stop him, right? So, all right, so we're setting up the Astos BT. You're going to notice we're at 99%, so we're right where we want to be. So what we're doing is we're getting his BT up and ready to go, and then it lined up perfect, where now we have Rosa and then Aerith, which is exactly what I want. So now Rosa's job is going to be to do the FR. Aerith is going to do double echo, and then we'll actually like ramp a little bit more with Aerith to get the gauge right where we want to. And then we'll get an Astos burst phase, and it's going to be GG's. that's about it. It's going to be GG's from there, right? So there might even be more mechanics than what I mentioned, but when you have Astos, you just blitz it, right? We got our Holy Blade. Let them take a couple of turns, and then we'll kind of just go from there. And like the damage race part of it, it's like not like you don't have to do the damage within a certain amount of turns, but it's within a certain amount of player turns. So the enemies can take lots of turns. So I think they do intend that you could use somebody like Auron and do something more defensive. That could still help you beat the damage race, because as long as you're not taking a lot of turns, you can still beat that damage race. And I didn't feel like it was that tough of a damage race anyways, but I'm like, if I can use Astos, let's just do it. So here we go, Aerith with the Echo Power. That's kind of what she does, right? Gets the big old gains off of that Rosa FR. This is why I love this combo so much. And then Astos being the... So, I mean, and the reason why I'm calling this, why I think this might be the best team in the game, it's because I feel like I have the two best supports in the game in Aerith and Rosa, and especially the way they interact together. And then we have the undisputed best DPS in the game. And it's not just like, like you can't just always take like the best something in the game and slap them together. But in this case, it all works so beautifully because of this. Because the whole idea with Astos is you just want to ramp that gauge up as much as you can before he goes in, and you just explode the fight. So you can see here, Aerith, getting all this ramp. So we went in, we did like a free turn ramp. We did an attack where she still stole a turn from that. I actually intended Aerith to pass turn, but that was fine. She kind of hit her high turn rate kicked in and she stole a turn in front of Astos. That's fine though, because we're still on turn 7. And what I found out with Astos is going in turn 7 like this, we're still going to use the Rain's Call to go in at turn 6. Going in at turn 6 is actually fine for Astos because the BT attack isn't like that powerful for him anyways. It's all the other stuff. So as long as you get the 6 turns to like, you want to hit basically the 15 and 35. You want to hit one of those twice and then the other one. So as long as you get 3 attacks out of the 15 and 35, and then you get the EX shot too. So there's really 4 Big Daddy attacks you're getting with Astos because they all scale off the dark matter. And those are the ones you want. So you can see burst effect is at 6. Force time is at 6. As long as those line up, you get all 6 force turns within the burst frame, you're good. So we're actually going to lead with the FR, which is once again kind of crazy to say, one of his weaker attacks. Just because this guy's an absolute monster. And so what I'm finding I like to do with Astos is I like to lead FR, especially if I'm not at full gauge, right? Lead with FR, build up the gauge a little bit, 78%. Then we're going to hit LD. That's going to get us to cap. And then the LD gives us a free skill use of the 15 and 35. So then we can just go bam, 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 15, 35, EX, 35, whatever I want to do. And the enemies are going to be obliterated, right? Which seems kind of crazy, right? They're at 69%. And once again, that threshold stopped them. We probably did enough damage to go well beyond that, but their threshold stops it. So this Dark Glory is going to be like an insane amount of damage. But it's going to stop at the threshold. You're going to notice they're both at like a nice even number. See, they both stopped. We only got 10% out of that. Like, we overkilled that like a ridiculous amount. But we have to. So literally Astos is like, all right, press button, do thresholds, right? So that there was the LD, which is fine, which is good. And you see Aerith there, her follow-up did like 3% on its own. So yeah, Astos was way over. So I'm like, let's do Dark Slash for AoE. Make sure we hit the next threshold. And then my thought is we'll have the EX and the Dark Thrust to kind of finish them off at the end, right? After they get the heal. So here's 49. Once again, it stopped them both clean at 49. We would have probably overkilled. So now we got to swing one more time to get the final threshold. So I'm like kind of debating, but I think I do Dark Slash here. I'm pretty sure. Because I wanted to do the AoE. I'm pretty sure. I'm thinking. I'm talking over a pre-recording. There it is, Dark Slash. Yep, so we do that to get the AoE. And just hoping that it's enough to hit the threshold, which it is. I think they got to get below 29, and it does that. Okay, so there they are. They're below 29. So now they do the settle down, and now they're going to heal back up. So they're going to heal up to, I think, 49. I'm pretty sure it's 40. Yeah, so they're back up to 49. Okay, so now it's like, but we have 2 turns left, right? So it's like we have 1 EX and 1 Dark Thrust, which these are the 100 mil plus buttons. So I set it up perfectly where I can tap each enemy with 1 and they should die. So here we go, Dark Warhammer. This guy's got 49% health. We do the launch double attack. We get the extra on that, and then sure enough, done. 107 mil, you're out of here. Get out of here. We even did a little bit to this guy. We knocked off 8% off of the guy on the right. So now we know Dark Thrust for sure is going to take him out. This will probably do more damage even. The EX does hit really hard, but this might be more than 107. And then bam. Get out of here, my guy. Okay, he did 100 even, which is fine. We'll take it. So yeah, he's out of here, but we got to do the BT, you know. We got to have all the formalities, right? We got to finish the burst phase. But this guy is out of here. So anyways, let me know how you handled this fight. But I think, and let me know what you think of, like, let me know who you think is the best team in the game. If you could pick any 3 characters, what team would you build for, like, doing the whole game? But right now, for me, I think this is actually the best team in DFFOO. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know how you handle the fight. Thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all on the next one.